It's what you're doing, making me feel like I'm falling.
Hello. In today's video, I got, for the first time ever, an actual camera. Yes, for this whole time I have been filming things on my phone, and I finally was able to purchase a real
camera.
It's like I'm a real YouTuber now. I got the Canon EOS M50 Mark II. If that means absolutely nothing to you, that's fair. In other news, my art room is almost done. Everyone leave a very polite comment saying, please hang up the shelves at my husband. Okay, gosh, there are fireworks going on. It's the 4th of July weekend and I just can't get around it. Okay. Anyway, in today's video, I am painting on plates. Real ones. The kind you actually eat off of. I got this idea from my mother, actually. I don't know why I just said my mother. My mom. Mommy. Ma. My mom also enjoys painting. She was painting on plates for gifts for people, and she had a lot of glass paint that she has very nicely let me use. This is enamel paint by Folk Art. It says glass paint on it, and I have every color of the rainbow, which is
great for me.
Before we can get started painting on plates, we need our rubbing alcohol. The rubbing alcohol I don't even know really what it does. My mom just told me to do that first. So I think it helps the paint maybe to stick better, or maybe just to clean the plate. Not really sure. I just follow instructions blindly, apparently. The amount of fireworks, I don't know how to... Hi, Mom. For the glass plates, when you put the alcohol on it, what does that do?
To clean the plate from any residue. So the paint sticks.
Ah, so the paint adheres better?
Yeah.
All right.
No, and make sure you tell her they're decorative, because I'm not sure, even though they say it's okay to eat with them.
Decorative plates. All right, you heard it here first. The alcohol is to make sure it sticks, and they are decorative. Don't eat them. For this first plate, I'm painting a blue and white rose. And this is actually something that's quite similar to a painting that I did on a Facebook Market flip video where I painted, well, I thought it was a side table, and I had a surprising amount of you guys comment and say that it's actually a phone table.
What?
I had no idea what a phone table even was. I had to Google it. What is a phone table? But apparently, there's a large portion of you that are old enough to know what a phone table is. This was shocking news to me. Not the phone table, but the knowledge of the existence of a phone table. I really thought the Bellamena community here was very young, but it turns out we actually have a very broad range of ages. Isn't that exciting? I was excited by it. It's very cool. Okay, back to the blue rose bouquet. Am I painting a bouquet? I don't know if it's a bouquet. There's probably not enough flowers for it to be a bouquet, but it's a bunch of blue roses with a lot of leaves. After adding all the leaves, I went back and added some blue and white leaves, which is not realistic, but I feel like brings things together. I am also adding some curly vine thingies, very technical terminology, and we're gonna move on to the next plate. For this plate, I'll be doing a totally different type of flower with these colors, pink, purple, white, green, and yellow. Instead of starting off with the flower like I did last time, for this one, I'm going to start off with the leaves, and you'll see why later. I'm using dark green and light green to create fairly big leaves. I'm varying where I'm putting the light and dark colors. Sometimes I put the light color in the center, and other times I put it on the outside. I feel like this makes the leaf look like it's bending in different directions. The smaller leaves are smaller, but they still have the same concept with the light green and the dark green. Real leaves are not totally flat. They have kind of different shades based on how they are folded or how the light is hitting them. So that is what I'm trying to do. Once I was finished with the leaf part, I was ready for flowers. And I was actually inspired by my hydrangeas. They have been nicely sitting on my table, plucked from a real bush. To start off, I'm mixing together some pink and purple and creating like a purpley color. I'm just creating a space where the hydrangea will go, and it will also be like the shading base darkest color for our hydrangea. After that, I'm putting half white and half pink and purple on my paintbrush, and we're going to create each individual petal. Hydrangeas have a lot of petals. They're all overlapping. You're not going to see every single petal, so it's useless to try to see each of them. They also have a little point on them. So when I'm creating the petal, I'm kind of coming up to a little point and then making a little rounded thing. And each petal is actually in a group of 4. So that is what I'm doing as I'm painting. I'm overlapping all the petals because that is just how hydrangeas are, and it makes it look more realistic. As I build up the ball of hydrangea, I get lighter so that we have different variation in color. I personally found it very helpful to constantly spin the plate because then you have the right angle on the brush, but it made it very annoying to film and edit and probably harder to watch because you gotta keep seeing me spin this plate and it's very disorienting and you're like, what's happening? Which way's up? Which way's down? I don't know. Ooh, that is a very pretty grouping of petals. After creating the 2 main bushels of hydrangea, I added some extra little stems with petals coming off of it. I feel like that makes things come together. I don't know if that's actually realistic for a hydrangea. I feel like they're usually just in those big balls, but I just wanted to add some extra petals to add more color. And to finish this up, I am adding some curly vines. However, I made a massive mistake because I added too many and went over some leaves, and I was really mad, and I fixed the leaf, but honestly, I feel like I ruined the whole thing. So, let's move on to our next plate. I don't know why I felt the need to throw each of the paints and catch them. Honestly, I am not coordinated enough for this, but these are the colors I chose. And we have a floofy brush, as I like to call it. I'm dipping into half orange and half black, and I'm creating the center to a sunflower. Now we're actually moving from painting my favorite flower, which is a hydrangea, to my least favorite flower, which is a sunflower. I hate sunflowers with the fire of 1,000 suns. And it's not even because of the way they look. They're pretty. I like the color yellow. The center is oddly haunting. It's a little too large. But the reason I hate sunflowers is because I've been to a sunflower field. And if you've ever been to a sunflower field, you will know my pain. It is the worst thing in the whole world. There are bees everywhere. I mean everywhere. And they're all up in the gross center black part of the sunflower. They're just like crawling around in there. You literally can't even move without being stung by a bee. I went to take photos of my aunt and my uncle in a sunflower field, and my aunt got stung on the shoulder just because we were walking through the sunflowers. It was actually terrifying, and that is why these are my least favorite flower. They are disgusting. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh. I realize that my actual qualm is with the bees rather than the sunflowers themselves, but they kind of go hand in hand. They're always together, and therefore I have to avoid the sunflowers. They are pretty to paint though, so I don't know. I'm getting off on a real big tangent here, and I have basically missed describing this whole thing. But I'm adding some leaves as well as some smaller yellow leaves. And to finish things up, I did add some curly vines, although I feel like curly vines are particularly unrealistic on a sunflower. I've never seen that. Let's move on to our next plate. For this next plate, I'm using red, white, yellow, and green, and I'm going to actually create a more classic flower. Red roses. Well, actually, I intended for this to be red roses, but the white mixed with the red, and it kind of actually just looks like pink roses. And you know what? That's okay. Pink roses are really beautiful. I love roses. They're probably my second favorite flower after hydrangeas, and I particularly really like pink, red, fuchsia. Those bushes, when they're like a fuchsia rose bush, is so pretty. Love it. This plate is conceptually slightly different than the other plates. The other plates had one big flower with some leaves around it, but this one is going to have several roses that are smaller all around the plate. I did this mostly because I just really like painting these types of roses, and I wanted to practice more doing it, so I just did a bunch of them everywhere, and then I linked them together using some leaves. I used green, red, and white for the leaves, and they blended together so it looks like there's a little bit of like a pink tone in the leaves, and I really like that. Once I had gotten all the leaves done, I added some stems, and that's pretty much it for this plate. Okay, all of the plates are painted, but now they actually need to be put in the oven. So this paint has directions that you have to set it to 350 from cold into hot, let it sit for 30 minutes. It's piping hot, and now we have completed plates. I let them cool before I touch them with my bare hands. Here are my general complaints. I like the way they turned out, kind of, but I do have some qualms. I feel like the glass paint I was using was very chunky at times. Like sometimes it would dry too quickly and then you couldn't put a second coat of paint on top of it or it'd start crumbling. I don't know if I need like a paint thinner for glass paint or maybe I just have to paint quicker. I don't really know. Even though there are definitely some parts of these flowers that I could have painted better, in general, I'm very happy with the way they turned out. I think they're really pretty, and I love that there are all different types of flowers here. It was fun. If you want to see me paint on more stuff, I have a playlist linked in one of these 2 boxes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week for another video. Bye!